Welcome to the Grandview Hotel, where guests check in, but they don't always check out. Tonight, we delve into one of the most disturbing mysteries in modern hospitality, the case of room 237, where 17 people have vanished without explanation over the past decade. Their belongings remain untouched, their beds still warm, but the guests themselves? Gone. As if they never existed at all. The Grandview Hotel opened its doors in 1887, a testament to Victorian grandeur with its towering spires and ornate facades. Built by railroad magnate Theodore Blackwood, the hotel was meant to be a crown jewel of luxury travel. But from its very first year, strange incidents plagued the establishment. Guests reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors, doors slamming shut on their own, and most disturbing of all, voices calling their names in the dead of night. The original architect, Marcus Holden, mysteriously disappeared during the hotel's construction. His body never found, despite extensive searches of the building and surrounding grounds. Room 237 sits at the end of the third-floor corridor, isolated from the other guest rooms by a sharp turn in the hallway. Hotel records show that this particular room was Theodore Blackwood's personal suite during his stays. After his death in 1923 under mysterious circumstances, found in the room with no signs of struggle or illness, the space was converted to a standard guest room. But standard it was not. Even before the recent disappearances, room 237 had an occupancy rate of less than 30%. Guests frequently requested room changes after just one night, citing unexplained disturbances and an overwhelming sense of being watched. The modern string of vanishings began 3 years ago with Margaret Chen, a pharmaceutical sales representative from Seattle. Security footage showed her entering room 237 at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. She had called the front desk earlier, complaining about strange knocking sounds coming from within the walls. The night manager assured her it was likely old plumbing. At 3:33 a.m., the hotel's automated system registered the room's door opening, but no one was captured on the hallway cameras. When housekeeping arrived the next morning, they found Margaret's belongings exactly as she had left them. Her presentation materials spread across the desk, her phone charging on the nightstand, even her reading glasses folded neatly on the pillow. Over the following months, 12 more guests would disappear from room 237. The victims varied in age, background, and reason for staying at the hotel. There was James Morrison, a retired teacher celebrating his wedding anniversary. Sarah and David Kim, newlyweds on their honeymoon. Professor Elena Vasquez, an archaeologist attending a conference on ancient civilizations. What united them was the pattern of their disappearance, always between midnight and dawn, always leaving behind their personal effects completely undisturbed, and always preceded by complaints about strange sounds in the night. Detective Sarah Martinez was assigned to the case after the fifth disappearance. A 20-year veteran of the force, she had seen her share of unusual cases, but room 237 presented challenges unlike any other. There were no signs of struggle, no evidence of forced entry or exit, and no witnesses despite the hotel's comprehensive security system. The only consistent element was the testimony of guests in adjacent rooms who reported hearing muffled conversations and occasional laughter coming from room 237 during the nights when people vanished. Sounds that continued long after the security system indicated the room was empty. The hotel management invested heavily in additional security measures, installing motion sensors, upgrading cameras, and even placing recording devices inside room 237 itself. But the technology seemed to fail when it was needed most. Cameras would malfunction precisely during the hours when guests disappeared, showing only static or impossibly distorted images. Motion sensors would trigger randomly throughout the night, detecting movement when the room was supposedly empty. Most unsettling were the audio recordings, which captured hours of what sounded like conversations in multiple languages, including some that linguistic experts couldn't identify. Desperate for answers, hotel owner Victoria Prescott hired renowned psychic investigator Dr. Miranda Cross. Dr. Cross had assisted law enforcement in several high-profile missing persons cases and came highly recommended. Her first night in room 237 yielded immediate results and immediate terror. She reported contact with multiple spirits, all claiming to be guests of the hotel from different time periods. But these weren't the recent missing persons. According to Dr. Cross, the room was inhabited by entities that had been there since the hotel's earliest days, collecting souls like trophies and adding them to some sort of supernatural congregation. Dr. Cross's investigation led to a shocking discovery in the hotel's basement archives. Hidden behind a false wall were Theodore Blackwood's personal papers, including his correspondence with various occult societies of the late 1800s. The railroad magnate had apparently been involved in spiritualism and dark magic, believing he could achieve immortality by binding souls to physical locations. Room 237 wasn't just his personal suite, it was his ritual chamber, designed according to specific occult principles to trap spiritual energy. The mysterious architect Marcus Holden hadn't disappeared during construction. According to Blackwood's diary, he had been the first sacrifice to consecrate the room. The truth about room 237 was more horrifying than anyone had imagined. It existed as a dimensional pocket, a space between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Theodore Blackwood's ritual had been successful. He had achieved a form of immortality, but at the cost of becoming eternally bound to the room. Every guest who stayed there became part of his growing collection of souls, trapped forever in a twilight existence between life and death. The whispers in the walls weren't just sounds, they were the voices of every person who had ever vanished, calling out to new arrivals, trying to warn them or perhaps welcoming them to join their eternal gathering. Armed with this terrifying knowledge, the hotel management faced an impossible decision. Victoria Prescott wanted to demolish room 237 entirely, but structural engineers warned that the room was load-bearing. Removing it could compromise the entire third floor. Instead, they sealed the room permanently, installing multiple locks and posting security guards around the clock. The official story was that the room had sustained water damage and was being renovated indefinitely. But even sealed, the room's influence continued to spread. Guests in nearby rooms reported increasingly disturbing experiences, and hotel staff began experiencing nightmares and unexplained episodes of lost time. 6 months after room 237 was sealed, paranormal investigator Jake Sullivan convinced the hotel management to allow him one final investigation. Sullivan had spent 15 years documenting supernatural phenomena and believed he could find a way to permanently cleanse the room. Armed with electromagnetic field detectors, thermal cameras, and various religious artifacts, he entered the sealed room at midnight on Halloween, exactly 1 year after the last disappearance. His body cameras captured the first hour of his investigation, showing him documenting cold spots, electromagnetic anomalies, and what appeared to be multiple shadowy figures moving throughout the room. At 1:17 a.m., Jake Sullivan's cameras went dark. Security guards posted outside the room heard no sounds of struggle, no cries for help, just a sudden, profound silence. When they finally broke through the multiple locks and entered the room 12 hours later, they found all of Sullivan's equipment exactly where he had placed it, still running and recording empty air. His notes were neatly arranged on the desk, documenting his observations up until the moment the cameras failed. But Jake Sullivan himself had vanished completely, becoming the 18th person to disappear from room 237, and the first to do so while the room was officially sealed and under constant guard. Today, room 237 remains sealed, But its mystery continues to attract attention from paranormal investigators, journalists, and curiosity seekers from around the world. The Grandview Hotel has changed ownership 3 times since the disappearances began, but each new owner faces the same impossible situation. The room cannot be destroyed without compromising the building's structural integrity, yet its very presence continues to affect the entire hotel. Guests still report strange experiences on the 3rd floor. Whispers in languages they don't understand, the sound of footsteps in the sealed room above, and most disturbing of all, the occasional glimpse of figures in old-fashioned clothing walking the hallways late at night. The families of the missing persons have never stopped searching for answers. Support groups have formed, private investigators have been hired, and reward money totaling over $2 million has been offered for any information leading to the discovery of what happened to their loved ones. But Room 237 keeps its secrets well. Psychics and mediums who attempt to make contact report overwhelming sensations of being watched, followed by complete psychic silence, as if the room itself has learned to shield its contents from outside interference. The most disturbing reports come from those who claim to have briefly made contact with the missing persons, describing them as aware of their situation but unable to escape, existing in a state of perpetual twilight between worlds. The Grandview Hotel continues to operate, though bookings for the 3rd floor remain consistently low. The sealed door of Room 237 stands as a monument to one of the most perplexing mysteries of our time. Investigators have examined every angle, from criminal activity to psychological phenomena to supernatural explanations, but none provide satisfactory answers to the central question: where did 18 people go? The hotel's storage room contains a heartbreaking collection of personal effects, suitcases packed with vacation clothes, business presentations that were never delivered, anniversary gifts that were never given, and love letters that were never sent. The families visit sometimes, hoping against hope for some sign of their missing loved ones. But as Detective Martinez noted in her final report, the most chilling aspect of the entire case remains unchanged after all these years. Their luggage was still there, but they weren't.